of the Week preview show. Brought to you by Metro PCS.
Week 9 of the high school football season here on UTV 44. Jim Cox and Dan Brennan. We're at Metro PCS here, the Daphne location right on Highway 98, right in the shopping center over here by Smoothie King. You kind of know if you're coming down 98 here in Daphne, you know the location here. So week 9, Dan, we go to week 8 before we finally, what feels like, have a great game to talk about. And boy, did we ever last Friday night up in Pritchard.
We did. And in fairness to all that participate in choosing the games of the week, we had
mostly Jared.
We had many marquee games that you would swear
on paper
that's the one to go to.
Right.
And they just didn't turn out that way. Now, last week, we made a decision to take a good look at a couple of teams vying for number 2 and 3. And maybe actually Viger's got a chance to win it all in 5A Region 1. And man, we finally had a great game.
I mean, it was, you know, Jackson coming off a very tough home loss to St. Paul's, came down to Viger to take on the Viger Wolves. And, you know, we were kind of like, okay, so Viger's been playing better. They'd won 5 in a row. And you kind of look at the schedule and say, they've been tested. You know, what are they going to be? And then all of a sudden, you know, and we talked with Derek in the pregame show and said, you know, Coach, it looks like your defense is playing pretty well. And he was like, they are.
Yeah, he did.
And they did.
He thought they had a puncher's chance, and they really did. And the one thing, and we talked about this during the game too, which stuck out to me about Viger, you know, no stars that you're talking about might go to Nebraska, might go to LSU or anything like that, though these kids could develop some of the younger guys, so don't hold me to that. The point was they had good speed on defense. They've got, you know, decent size on defense. They just played together. Nobody trying to be the hero. Everybody doing their job. Everybody playing as the coaches have asked. And sometimes for young kids, that's hard to do when they think, oh, if I just try a twist here.
I can do it.
I can do this, and I can. No, everything they did was by the book. Everything they did was because they knew what the guy to the left and right was going to do as well. And they were just tough to move the football on all night long.
And you know, you look at Viger on paper too, and you see that huge offensive line. I mean, so big up front. You know, they've got great skilled athletes. They've got Charles Crawford on the outside. I think what gets overlooked maybe a little bit in that game was Jackson held them to 7 points in regulation as well. Jackson's defense, I think, gets overlooked just because I think just to, from an eye candy standpoint, the way Viger does it might be a little more pretty, or maybe it was a little more pretty on defense that night.
Yeah, no, Jackson played their tail off, and they've got a lot of good players on defense too. It was a very even game. I guess when you go to double overtime, that kind of speaks for itself. But Eric Feltz, who was on the circuit this week, I caught him at the First and 10 Club as he was awarded as the, I believe, Defensive Player of the Week.
Could have been defensive, could have been
special teams, right. I mean, he had a fumble recovery, he had a big interception in the end zone, and he kicked 2 for 2 on extra points and the game-winning field goal. He rested well on Friday night.
It was great to see the big win for the Viger. Well, boy, how about Jackson? I mean, they go from being number 1 in the state to then they have to take on St. Paul's. They lose. They go to Viger. Then they lose. Now they get Davidson this week. But I have to think, you know, they're going to end up being a 3 seed probably. You got to think in the playoffs, these stretching games really going to pay dividends for them.
Yeah, you would think so, and especially if they end up as that 3 seed, which looks like that's going to be the case now. It'll have to go on the road. They'll have to take on a bigger seed, a number 2 seed from another region, but this region, the top end of that region, as is the case in 7A and 6A and even 4A, can hold their own.
No question. So our game of the week tonight, we haven't even had a chance to get to that one because we're so excited to talk about the great game we had last week. T.R. Miller rolling into town tonight to take on Bayside. We're going to talk all about that 3A matchup here tonight. Place Dan Brennan and I have yet to be, so we're going to talk all about that. But right now we are here at Metro PCS, our pregame show, and we are at 28825 Highway 98 here in Daphne. And again, stop in and see us. We'll be here throughout the evening at your Bayside location as well. When we come back, Vic Lockett going to join us 2 weeks in a row for Victor. He's going to be here and we'll be ready for Bayside and T.R. Miller tonight here on UTV 44. Metro PCS, we're here at the Daphne location, 28825 US Highway 98 right here in Daphne. That's your Bayside location tonight. Bayside and T.R. Miller, our game here on UTV 44. And, you know, Dan, it's kind of rare, our 16th year of doing this, that we get somewhere we haven't been during the regular season. Sometimes we have a playoff game, go on the road, but we've been to most of the places around here, and our first time rolling into Bayside tonight.
Well, the fact is, we usually
they didn't want us here for the longest time.
Well, that was the second factor I was going to bring. But I think the fact is that generally speaking, we have kind of concentrated everything on the 7A, 6A, 5A. And UMS, right, of course, makes runs at state championships in 4A, so we get a game of theirs on or two. So that's pretty much been it. And I really like that we began to have this discussion a couple of weeks ago, kind of a round-robin discussion about the possibility of going down classification into 3A and give these young guys a chance to show what they've got. And as we looked over the schedule, we thought, well, why not? We get Viger and Spanish Fort and Saraland and McGill, and they all get their turn. So why not give a chance for a Bayside Academy team that number one has had a nice run under Phil Lazenby.
Lost in the state championship game last year.
Last year to the state championship game. And, of course, a T.R. Miller program that has had historic success over the years for our friends up in Bruton. So we thought, let's give it a shot.
And, you know, we talk about it with Jared, our producer, who we talk about so much during the games. It's just, you know, there's never a wrong answer as to what game you do, but there's so many great ones to pick from. And this was another one this week. We had this game that we were kind of looking at. Then you've got all of a sudden Blunt and Daphne's a big game in that region matchup. You got Viger and St. Paul's playing for the region championship, and some of those teams we really think we're going to see again in the playoffs. Sure. You know, so we're not probably going to get a chance to see Bayside. So this is it. So we'll get our first look at 3A football here tonight. It's a game with big ramifications to figure out, you know, if you're going to get a home game in the playoff, if you're going to go on the road, and we'll talk more about that coming up in the next segment. Our friend Vic Lockett here with us here tonight, and Vic said, "Okay, I don't want to talk about that in the break." So of course, what am I going to do? We're going to talk about it. Well, one thing you're going to see here tonight is in 3A football, you're going to see a lot of kids going both ways. Sure. You're just going to see, it's just it. Smaller numbers. I think I want to say Bayside has maybe 38, 40 kids on the roster. So kids going both ways. And I was asking Vic, I said, would that have been just fun, just when you're 15, 16, all the energy in the world, just to be out on the field like Charles Crawford was last week? I said, would it have been fun for you to be out there every play? Well,
you know, it's a little bit different for me. I was a bigger guy, and I was huge in high school, so, you know, that would have been taxing for me to have to go both ways. Right. You know, I did play a little bit of tight end, but, you know, primarily I was a defensive player. But, you know, you can spot play, and that was fine. Right. But no, going 100 and some plays at night, competing, you know, I think that would have been tough for me.
We've seen it like in the playoffs. I remember a kid up at Demopolis that was the quarterback, and he was a great quarterback. He was the starting safety. Yeah, and a good safety. And would run all over the field. So, I mean, it is amazing how you see some of the bigger classifications where you just have more bodies. You don't have to do it. But then you see the kids who just, like, and they're not breathing heavy when we see them on the field after the game playing all night. No, and matter of fact, there was a game a couple of years ago. Coach Horn brought his team down from Alex City, I believe, and they were playing Spanish Fort, and then a 5A playoff game, if memory serves, which it rarely does anymore, but if it's close. and yet they were in the same classification, but Alex City really had a smaller roster. And they had a number of guys that went both ways, and that particular night, those kids competed, put a big scare in Spanish Fort, who had much more numbers, but those kids played both ways and played well. I think what we're going to get tonight is a real appreciation of some of these young guys that do this, because we're going to actually see them make really good plays on offense, turn around, and make really good plays on defense, and really marvel at their ability to focus and do well on both sides of the ball. We joke we could have the offensive and defensive player of the week be the same kid this week. They could do the same things. Hey, go back a little bit to last week's game. I mean, that Viger defense, we talked about in the first segment. I mean, you know more about defensive football than anybody. You know, what was your takeaway after watching them play? Well, you know, I really want to see that team again. You know, both of those teams, they really competed very well. And, yeah, it was a great defensive struggle. And, you know, I know you like the offense and fireworks. I like defense, too. Yeah, but let me tell you, they played together as a team, both defenses, and especially Vigers, you know, to come out at the end. And, you know, we said it toward the end of the game before the overtime started. You know, if they didn't make a play at the end of the game, you would forget about how well they played defensively all night. So
you know, defense always wins out, and it proved out as well last week. The one who plays the best defense usually is the one going to win the football game, win championships as well.
PA's pretty proud of the Wolves right now, aren't they?
They are. They're excited.
It's a big week this week.
Well, they're proud of both of their teams out there, Blunt and Viger.
Yep, it's been a great run for both of those programs, and Blunt's got the big game here in Daphne tonight as they'll take on the Trojans, who suddenly have won 6 in a row as well after a slow start with 2 tough matchups going up against Davidson and Spanish Fort.
Yeah, and we saw one of those, you know, one of the parts to that slow start when they were actually kind of beat up physically by that Spanish Fort defense. But it looks like they've righted the ship a good bit, and good for Daphne. I think that you know that being over here, there's a lot of excitement about the Trojans and Coach Kenny King.
Yeah, and he's, you know, he kind of knew it was going to take a little bit of time, and he's a first-year coach, and he's just, you know, everything's it's a growing process for everything.
Defensive guy from Bama. What do you expect?
Yes, exactly. We got one right here, right next to us. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk more about our matchup tonight. T.R. Miller and Bayside here on UTV 44. It's our UA Early College Game of the Week, and this is the Metro PCS pregame show. We're at the Daphne location, and it's also the Bayside location here on Highway 98. We'll come back and talk more about the matchup right after this. We're back here at Metro PCS, your Bayside location here on Highway 98 in Daphne. T.R. Miller and Bayside on UTV 44 tonight. Dan Brennan, Jim Cox, and Vic Walker here with us. Phil Lazenby, head coach, scheduled to join us, was not able to make it here tonight. So we'll do another segment talking about this matchup here with Vic, and then we'll have our last segment where we'll ask the silly questions. I think that's maybe why, you know, Lazenby's never been on the show. Maybe that was why he's not.
But he's heard.
He's you know, his 10th year.
Yeah.
At Bayside, of course, he was a great assistant coach over at UMS during their great runs, and then it's hard to believe he's been here 10 years, and he's really done a great job. And I think just, you know, he's coached.
Build it from scratch.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's, you know, he's coached at some of the biggest programs in the state up in Birmingham and had great success there. Then, of course, at UMS as well. So the matchup tonight, 2 5-2 teams, 4-1 in the region, each one. Mobile Christian going to win looks like they're going to win the region. They're undefeated, and they've beaten both these teams already this season. So it's really one of those matchups here tonight, trying to figure out who's the number 2, who's the number 3. Do you want to go on the road? Do you want to stay at home? Always want to have that first round playoff game at the house, right, Vic?
No doubt they want to play for, you know, getting the home field advantage as far as they can. And who knows, you know, maybe the team loses later and then they still get a chance to play at home. So it's always important. You know, they like to say in the pros, sleep in your own bed. Of course, all these kids sleep in their own beds. But playing at home, you got a level of comfort, and they're trying to gain that.
And not as big, like a 2-3, okay, you got the road game. But that, when you're trying to finish 3 or 4 in the region, that's when you're like, boy, the 1-4 matchups are the ones that, you know, those are really that can get out of hand. But those 2-3s are usually really evenly matchup games. We've seen that for years here in UTV.
We have. And speaking about where the game's being played, I am really excited to be broadcasting for this game tonight at one of the coziest little stadiums you're ever going to see. Nestled between, well, I mean, what a campus. Nestled between the bay and basically a neighborhood,
right
on the you know.
That's Bayside Academy.
That's right.
I mean, it's the Bayside.
Yeah.
And so when I went and saw it a number of years ago, I visited Phil just to kind of take a look at things, and I said, "Hey, man, y'all weren't lying. This is Bayside." He said, "Yeah, what'd you think?" But visited, went to the stadium, went to the press box, saw where the coaches do their thing, and it really is. I mean, if you're just walking around the neighborhood, you can see what's going on with the game.
Yeah, you could be on the
like.
road. I mean, you can be on a city street and watch the game here in Bayside. It's going to be a great atmosphere here tonight, and I know they're really excited about it. They got really excited on Facebook when they found out we were going to do the game, so they're excited. And you think about the kids, Vic, that we talk about playing on TV, we showcase on TV. A lot of them have the games a lot on. But, I mean, think back when you were a high school kid. If you found out, you know, this would be the first time ever you're going to be playing on TV. It's going to be a big deal for these kids tonight.
Hey, you're going to look good, you're going to feel good, and you're going to want to play good because you're going to want Jim Cox to call your name a few times making some plays.
Well, I'm going to have a chance to do a lot with them both playing on both sides of the ball. They've upped their chances to get their names called on the games here tonight. But no, it is a big deal. We're excited about it. The game means something. And like you were saying, Dan, I mean, T.R. Miller, a historic program. You know, of course, Jamie Riggs was the head coach up there forever, a legendary coach in Alabama high school football. And so, I mean, that is a program very steeped in tradition. And we did a playoff game of theirs several years ago against UMS Wright as well.
We did. We did. In fact, the star player of that team was the young guy that ended up at Alabama, made a big catch in the Florida game, hurt his leg real bad with the break.
Tyrone Prothro?
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was from there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we got a chance to see them and watch him play. And tonight's game, in a way, is really our way of saying and acknowledging all of these schools at this level.
I agree.
That generally we haven't been able to get on because of the higher classifications, the big name games, the big crowds, and the big programs. So tonight we gear it back with a chance to, highlight not just these two schools, but to show that we do want to, show attention that's certainly deserved to these teams that are playing so well in 3A, 2A.
And I wonder if you'll have a lot of parents and grandparents who are watching the games tonight, and as they watch it, if they watch our games week after week, they see how high school football has evolved, how complex the offenses are, what these kids are doing, the same thing you see on Saturday and Sunday in some cases. I wonder if someone will be watching the game tonight and it almost looks like they're kind of peeling it back a little bit, and it's kind of like, that's how we did it. I had to play on both sides of the ball. I wonder if there won't be a little nostalgia thought by some of our viewers here tonight.
Oh, no doubt it will be. And, of course, a lot of them will be recording the game, and these things will be held for life, and they'll be showing it to their grandkids. I wish I had the opportunity, like you were talking about just before, to show, my daughter what I did in high school, where I played, a whole lot. I can show the snippets at Alabama, but a whole lot in high school. So they're going to be excited. We're excited. It's going to be a great venue to do the game.
And the venue, I think, is going to play into just how cool this whole event's going to be, Jim. Because as you were saying, that just went crazy on Facebook and social media when Bayside Academy found out it's no longer a whisper, it's no longer a rumor. UTV 44 is coming. They're going to do the game. I know there's a great sense of pride and a great sense of, I think that they're going to roll out the red carpet, and we're going to feel very welcome.
Yeah, well, one quick, also, a friend of mine is a board member of the Board of Trustees at Bayside, and I gave him a little heads up last week that this might be in the works, and that was mid-morning. His son came home from school, and he said to his son, he said, Mr. Jim said that they might do your game on TV, and his son said, "Oh yeah, we know they're already doing it." Like he was like, "How do you know the kids even know already?" So the kids had already figured it out before we even
social media.
Yeah, we hadn't even made the decision yet, and they were sure we were doing the game. We're here.
It was already on Snapchat.
Yeah, that's it. Right over here. We're going to be right over here when we kick things off here in about 10 minutes. Bayside and T.R. Miller will come back and wrap it up. Big Dan and I will be here, and we'll talk about some silly questions and look at tonight's game more between T.R. Miller and Bayside right here on UTV 44. Metro PCS pregame show here on our UTV 44 Game of the Week. T.R. Miller and Bayside getting ready to kick it off right here in Daphne tonight. We're at the Daphne location, Bayside's home Metro PCS location on Highway 98 right here by the Smoothie King. I think most people recognize here. Best way to get there. So these teams have played 6 of their last 8 games have been decided by 7 points or less. I mean, it's been a close game, a 7-0 win last year for T.R. Miller. A couple of the games have been 2 points. They've just been really close. And I kind of think that's kind of what we're going to see here tonight.
Well, I think what you're going to see from both of these schools, both of these teams, a lot of pride. Now, T.R. Miller's done it for a long time. But Bayside Academy, they have built up now to the point, state championship game last year, coming in number 2 in the state. Great coaching. Kids that are very attentive to what's being taught, and a lot of pride, a lot of good technique. So a lot of good football tonight.
Yeah,
and a lot of running the ball.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of that. And of course, when we think we really have it figured out as to what's going to happen, then it could be totally different. We can see him chucking it all over the place.
Totally opposite. Huh?
I don't think that's going to be. Don't think that's going to be the case. Okay, so we also, we talked about the other big game that we have going on tonight. You've got the big game over at St. Paul's, Viger and St. Paul's. That's for the region championship. The other big one over here, and then next week you got some other games we got to look at. You got Davidson Murphy, who a month ago on the schedule, that's not even up for consideration because Murphy's struggling so bad. Davidson's running all over everybody. Now suddenly Murphy's got it going in the other direction, and they've climbed back in the playoff hunt. So it's kind of the same. It's where you finish. I mean, where are you going to be playing? How well are you playing week 8, 9, and 10?
Exactly. The requisite is to get to the playoffs. You got to play well in the regular season, but you can't go goofy toward the end and lose your seeding.
Yeah, no going goofy.
No,
we don't want to do that until now. Silly questions. I don't think I asked this one last week. Sushi or smoked fish?
Smoked fish, because at least that's cooked fish.
Okay.
I'll go with that. Yeah.
I like them both. I do smoke a lot of tuna. I like to do that. We'll stay kind of on the food question. Mullet or mutton chops? It's food or haircut, whichever you think. Mullet? Do you ever have the mullet, Dan Brown?
No.
I had an awful one.
No.
I had a mullet.
Big
Yeah,
locker,
I'm kidding.
Big locker. Come on now.
No.
Well, I could see you with some mutton chops.
Yeah, I'll go with the
My
fish.
answer to that is simply no.
Guitar or piano?
Piano.
I would love to play the piano.
I wish I had any type of musical.
Yeah.
I got
nothing.
nothing.
Grew
Your
up with
son.
the piano in church, so I'm used to
I
that.
was thinking, I knew that was it. Favorite breed of dog?
My name's Vic, so not too big of a fan of puppies.
Vic Lockett. I kind of connect some dots there for a second. Not a big. It's okay to be. You don't have to love dogs. I don't understand people in the slightest who don't love dogs. But anyway, favorite breed of dog? You've had the good small.
You know what? We had a Boykin Terrier that had a great personality and a great
Is that
dog.
Snickers?
Snickers.
Snickers. I remember.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I remember Snickers. Favorite luxury brand?
Wow, luxury brand. I guess Rolex, since I don't own one.
Yeah. How about you? You got a.
I'm thinking over my personal endorsements right now, so I don't want to say the wrong thing. Next question, please.
All right. So, all right. What fits you better? Live for the moment or save the best for last?
You know me. Why don't you answer that question?
How about you?
I'm a planner. Save the best for last.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that. All right. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Sunset.
Sunrise. I mean, you saw it, but I'm a sunrise guy.
I've
I've
seen
seen
quite a
way
few of them.
too
Yeah,
Yes.
I understand. All right, kickoff coming up. We're here in Bayside tonight in Daphne. T.R. Miller and Bayside Academy 3A matchup. Going to find out who finishes number 2 and who finishes number 3 in the region here tonight on UTV 44.